Nice.
Good.
And somebody in Italy.
Oh, it's my cousin. Italiano.
Steve, shut up.
I hate that.
Get the fuck out of here.
Please be
Get
quiet.
the fuck out of here.
We're putting you on.
So he calls you Americano.
And you
Oh,
have
my
like
cousin. Americano.
12 cousins named
my-
Argentino.
My cousin Porter Prince. Hey,
Yo, that was like that shit we used to do where it's just like, hello, America.
it's like, oh yeah, one of
You'll
my
never
buddies,
believe
North
this.
Miami, yo. Like, what are we Pokemon now?
No, won't stop the way that I keep to deliver.
SJ.
I'ma make these haters reconsider.
BPC.
And I kick back,
Oh,
stay
yeah.
high up for life.
Oh, yeah.
And I won't stop.
I won't stop, I can't stop, even if I try. I won't stop, I can't stop, even if I try. I won't stop, I can't stop, even if I try. Even if I try, even if I try. I won't stop, I can't stop anytime soon. And I'm
Hello, whoa, and welcome to Y'all Boys Talkin', podcast about nonsensical improvement, where each week we not only talk about bettering ourselves, we talk about how we can help you better yourself by hearing us better ourselves. It's like trigonometry, but with Legos. My name is Joshua Jean Baptiste,
Frank Hernandez.
I'm Maximo Santana.
And I'm Steve Della Valentina.
and the four of us have known each other for quite some time and have developed this concept called STTT, straight to the top. Now, Max, if I was a bean that was planted in 1925 and I sprouted to a bush and that bush turned into a tree and that tree
What?
bared fruit that gave birth to a human.
Wow.
And you were the farmer that found me, and I looked at you with beaded eyes, and I said, Max, what is STTT?
Wow.
What would you tell me?
I would say, number one, I'm blessed to live in this universe. I can't believe I'm here right now, is what I would say. I come from a very far away place. And this literally has never happened before. But the concept
For the common man.
STTT is all about eating the big old nasty chili dog of life over the white pants that is your destiny and not getting a single piece on it and coming out lickety split clean due to your grit, your perseverance, your determination, and your sheer will to win.
It's clean pants. So we're the pants in this scenario.
Yeah, your destiny, your goals.
We are
keeping
clean
pants
Well,
pants.
you
and we're not
pursue it.
getting failure, which is the
Yeah.
hot dog.
Yeah, and sometimes you're gonna get a little stain on it here and there.
True.
You know?
Okay.
You don't have to come
But
out
you
with
got a
perfectly
tight
white
stick.
pants, but they should be clean. You know,
But as clean as possible.
as clean as you can get it.
All right. Yeah, you're right. All right. Sometimes
'Cause
you got to put a
life is
little
messy.
shout
Life is
on the
real messy
pants
sometimes.
to clean
Yeah.
clean that off, you know?
Y'all Boys
Yeah.
Talking is brought to you by Dockers.
Yo, low key, we have a fucking pants sponsorship this whole time.
And the Nathan's hot dog eating content.
Anyway, guys, we're going on a break. And
Yeah,
it's
23
been-
weeks.
23 weeks is now coming to
A break.
a break. We were going 22 miles an hour, and now we're stopping at a light.
Okay, I'm
That's-
just saying, guys. Every time someone goes on a break, it's usually right before they break up.
Oh,
Well,
How do we-
no, but we're still gonna be friends though. We're
okay,
still like
okay,
y'all
okay.
listeners. Like, look,
Yeah.
we're going away for a little bit, but we're coming back. Josh, when are we coming back?
we're coming back September 4th. Mark it on your
Oh.
calendar. Put a
Oof.
Google calendar, a Google reminder. Email your friends to tell them to remind you on that date. But for the time being, we're going to be plugging in to your social feeds videos of a documentary series called what, Frank?
Oh, it's just called Bro Trip 2, Brokio, a.k.a. Y'all Boys in Japan, a multidimensional experience. Yeah, I like to keep my title simple, and short,
Clean,
concise.
to the point.
concise, communicated.
Kurt.
So keep an eye out for that, but we will be back. Stay tuned. This episode is a reflective episode. We're going to be taking some time to chop it up and look back at these past 20 odd weeks. And, we're going to see where we've landed, because on the plane, when you're flying and you got to land, you're going to be in the clouds. And from those clouds, you're going to see the points of mountains. And sometimes you see people on them. Which brings us to our first segment, our STTT of the week. Cue sound.
STTT of the week.
STTT of the week is a person, place, or thing that has exemplified straight to the topness. In the light of looking back at this era of STTTs, we're going to choose, each of us, an STTT of the week out of all the weeks that inspired us the most. Why don't you start us off, Frank?
Well, my favorite STTT of this saga, of this era, it has to be Jaden Smith, the young icon living.
Oh, yeah.
Who is not only a incredibly talented artist, and at the time of this recording, his new album Aries came out. It's hot fire. Go check that bad boy out. But he's also been using his platform and his privilege for good, because there could be tons of people who are born into, dynasties, into great families, but not all of them use that kind of privilege to give back to communities, particularly Black communities. And from creating his water company, Just Water, to helping out Flint, Michigan in the STT of the week that we featured him on, to even more recently, on his birthday, he opened up a vegan food truck to give to the homeless people for free. Like, this guy is thinking about 20 steps ahead. Like, he's woke AF, incredibly talented, and clearly he's as STTT as it gets. And hopefully, if I can be in a position like his, I would give back as well. So that's my STTT of this era.
Big facts. Big facts. What you got for us, Max?
My STTT of the era goes to Lil Nas X. Probably gotten lit to Old Town Road, in the club, on the street, wherever. The song is everywhere. It is has the most streams of any song in 1 week ever, which is amazing. And he's got like 3 of the top 5 slots there, which is really, really impressive, considering Michael Jackson and Drake and Madonna are also on that list, right?
Crazy.
But more recently, of course, he's dropped his album, and it's got a whole bunch of crossover tracks on it. It's not just trap music and country. He's got a whole bunch of different vibes on there, and he's literally just trying to just get his music out to everyone in the world. And on the last day of Pride, he came out as gay and told people, hey, this song you've been listening to, dancing to this whole time, has been made by a Black male gay country singer, right?
Man.
So got him, right? It's amazing.
He has single-handedly won and defeated 2019.
Yes.
Oh,
and
man.
then
Hell yeah.
He's also, at the time of this recording, he is 3 short weeks away from having the longest reigning #1 single of all time.
Wow.
And if you can make that record, that just will, of course, solidify Old Town Road as literally the most popular song ever. And it's incredible given that nobody had heard of this guy before this song. And it kind of started off as a viral thing on TikTok, moved over to Twitter and Instagram, and then people actually started listening to the song on Spotify and stuff. There was that controversy when it was on the country charts, and he was just able to, so many people were just this guy's 15 minutes are gonna be over so soon.
Nah, he pushed that 15 minutes
1
to
year later.
45.
Yeah,
my
so
gosh,
it started buzzing on TikTok in December of 2018. So it's almost a year now that this dude is still relevant. So hats off to Lil Nas X. I think he's doing it big.
I also have one more thing to add to that. He also made Billy Ray Cyrus so popular with the Black community that he performed at the BET Awards this year. Billy Ray Cyrus.
BET Awards.
What-
Understand what needs to
Awards
happen
this
to
week-
make that
this year.
happen?
That is America, my G.
Yes, absolutely. So just he's literally just making all these bridges and having people cross all over them. It's amazing what he's doing.
Wow. Okay, Steve, what you got?
My STTT of the era will go to Woody Othello, a fellow Charger, and graduate of our same class, and all around cool guy. I've known him since around maybe like the senior year of high school. Kind of saw him doing his thing when we were in this entrepreneurship club, and back then, if I remember, he was mostly doing just like kind of these 2D or these just character drawings and just really pushing his fundamental art skills until he really started getting more into sculptures and just evolving his craft during college. And now he's doing it. I went to one of his shows, I think it was last year, or an exhibit, sorry. It's not like a performance like, yo, check out my pots.
It gets pretty animated. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's an animated person, and the things he creates are very animated despite being completely inanimate. But yeah, he is doing the thing, and as a full-time artist, it's very difficult, and it's inspiring. And not to mention that it's not just art, or it's not just pottery and sculptures that he's doing. Me and Max actually went to one of his, I think it was either like like a poetry thing, or
He did stand up, yeah.
yeah, it was a
Wait,
stand up
what?
routine. Yeah.
What?
He was at a venue in Oakland with like some other people, and he straight up had a stand up routine, and it was really funny.
Did 5 minutes.
Of course he
had a
did.
set ready.
Yeah, it was great. And this is just him being him.
Not surprising he'd have a tight 5 on hand.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Wow.
so yeah, he's
Shout out to Woody, dog.
Josh.
My STTT of the era is going to go out to none other than Mr. Jefferson Noel.
Yeah.
Jefferson Noel is a entrepreneur, Haitian American community educator, student, former student, president of FIU's student government. I mean, like all
Wait,
under
really?
being, yes, all
Oh,
under
that's
being,
awesome.
all while under being 25. This dude has written 2 books, and I've known him since he was a lanky little dude running around the drama room. And this guy has become a full-ass grown man using his power and influence and his grit and passion to spread the positive word. He got a news article written about him, and Ava DuVernay herself retweeted the damn thing. And he didn't even know about it because he's out here busy just doing his own damn thing. It's really inspiring, especially because he's very young. And, I said it once, I'll say it again. Jefferson Noel for president. I'm just saying, I called it.
Noel for president, 2048.
no L's.
No else.
Yo, no L's for real. On that note, that is the STT of this era. It's been a great ride, highlighting all the people. Take a moment to look at the people that are doing stuff in your area. Ask yourself, who's the STT of my week? Think about it. While we're on this break, we'll be right back.
It was a cold fall night. The air was brisk, and the glow of the moon kept my sights dim. The kids were asleep, but I had a sense that I needed to beat feet because there was a stench that was cruising full bruising. The whiff of something just caressed my face, but I wanted it to cut the gas. I checked the bathroom. No. Garage. No. It had to be the kitchen. A word from the bird told me this would happen. It was the garbage bin, filled to the rim with trash and all of his good-for-nothing wet rags-smelling friends. I clenched my fist. I grabbed the bag by his mug and gave him a hello, see you later to the dumpster. If you got a stench in your crib, toss out your garbage, or you'll sleep with the fishes, eh?
And we are back for the main event, our challenge checkup. Cue sound. Challenge checkup! Oh, so long ago, Max came up with this brilliant idea to give each other New Year's resolutions at the top of the year. We evolved them into challenges, and we gave each other challenges. So over the course of this podcast, if this is your first time listening, so you have seen us succeed, fail, give excuses, and a bunch of nonsensical reasons on how we got to our goals. But there was a catch.
The catch was that our 10-year high school reunion was coming up this year, and we had to complete all 12 challenges, 3 each, by that time, which was, like 2 weeks ago in our real time. If we failed, we had to go up to our fellow alumni and tell them how we failed ourselves and each other. But because we succeeded, we showed up to our high school reunion in a Tesla Model X, blasting YBT Presents Songs to Flex To. Even though we've already flexed, you can flex too by checking out the link in the description. I know it's a little difficult to find on Spotify, but if you click the link in the description, it'll take you right there. Hit that follow. You never have to look for it again.
We realized how difficult it was to, to get when we
cool.
actually
It
needed
wasn't
to play
easy.
it.
Yeah.
FYI.
Not a user-friendly name.
No.
Absolutely. But we succeeded. We did it.
Woo,
And
woo.
Frank, why don't you tell us how your entire challenge checkup process went, man? Why don't you remind us of your challenges?
All right, so I had 3 challenges. The first one was from Josh to maintain a consistent meditation regimen. The second one was from Steve to try the No S diet, which is no snacks, no sweets, no seconds for 4 weeks. And the last one was from Max to speak up more at work concerning social issues. So one of the things that we did was we actually went back and listened to the first and third episodes of the podcast just to kind of get a good view of like where we were when we started and where we were now.
And to also cringe.
And so much cringe. Like if you go back and listen to episode 1, I basically recorded the first one in a potato. Like before we had these really sick microphones. You were just figuring stuff out, you guys. So if you've joined us on the journey, thank you so much. Hopefully we sound way better today than we did 23 weeks ago.
And hopefully we continue to grow.
But my first challenge was to meditate, and I saw that I had some struggles around the first week, but third week on, this was by far the easiest challenge that I've had. It took a bit of time to wake up early. It took a bit of time to really set it down, but the moment I started doing it, it became really, really easy to just set that as a cornerstone of my entire day. So all my challenges, everything that I did throughout the day hinged upon whether I just had 10 minutes to myself in the morning. And guys, it's been great. It's been great, and I love it. I don't think I've changed much since then. There were a couple times where I stumbled, where I went on vacation and whatnot. But other than that, I've kept it consistent throughout, and it's been wonderful in my life. And I plan to do it into the future. And Josh, you gave me this challenge. What do you think about this whole this whole journey?
I mean, you really just excelled in it. You get an A+ for me, buddy. And honestly, it was nice to not only get a chance to be a part of a time in your life where your anxiety and thoughts were kind of running amok, to you actually handling it. So it was the reason why I gave it to you, but it was just great to just watch you actively engage in making your mental space a bit tighter. And I appreciate and respect your conviction. You have inspired me. And apparently you've inspired some of our listeners too, actually.
Oh, that's dope.
I recently was speaking to someone that said, I was just like, I challenged my friend to meditate every day. And then she was on FaceTime, and I was like, how's it going? She's like, and I was like, you ain't got to tell me. But yeah, so I'm really happy that you took to it so fervently. I felt like your consistency kept us together, because if we were having a bad week, at least we know Frank meditated. And just like you said, you need that to be a cornerstone of your day. Honestly, that's been the cornerstone of this podcast.
Big facts.
Damn.
So kudos to you, sir. What about your next challenge?
So I'm going to go to my third challenge, which is to speak up more at work concerning social issues. Now, this is where going back to the first podcast is interesting. So in the first few podcasts, I said I was going to read this book called White Over Black, American Attitudes Towards the Negro, which is this super dense, heavy book about, like, literally, again, American attitudes towards the Negro way back when. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to read this. Like, this is going to be great. Let me tell y'all, I read that for about 4 weeks on and off, and then I just put it down. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. It's rough. Shit's rough out there.
Was it just dense? Like, was it just like hard to accept all the facts they were putting out in the book? What didn't catch you about it?
Well, the facts were fascinating. The facts were like, oh man, like this is really cool. It's really interesting. It's just it's a textbook. It was just really dense. The writing was
not a light read.
Not the heaviest read. Yeah. The heaviest read. And I had to go a lot of back and forth into it. But I know that if they cast a black Ariel, Twitter's going to lose their mind.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, so I had a pretty good feeling about the American attitudes towards the Negro for a while.
For a while.
Right.
For a while, all right? And, yeah, this Little Mermaid thing, I'm not even going to get into it. But,
yes.
like, at this point, you know what's going on. It's going to be fine, guys. She's a great singer.
Oh, yeah.
So, Max, as you challenged me there, what are your overall thoughts about myself in this challenge and how I did?
I think you did great. Overall, I think I brought this up so that you could just kind of think of where in the workplace you could just lend a voice to people that need a voice to be lent. So as long as that happened, I think this was going to be a very, very fruitful thing, not just for you, but for like the whole company, right? So it all starts with people like seeing things and saying things wherever they are, whether that's like at work, at home, at church, at the mechanic. Right. You just got to go, and if you see something, say something. So that's kind of what I wanted to, challenge you to do. And throughout the 22 weeks that we were, doing this challenge, you found a handful of times to actually, you saw something and you said something. And that's all I wanted. So I think you knocked it out the park, and I hope you can continue. I hope you can continue this and see kind of some of the things that your voice was able to do at work.
Big facts.
Oh yeah, it's been crazy. And finally, speaking of crazy, my third challenge, which was by far the hardest one that I had to do throughout this saga, was the no S diet. My goodness. Yo, I made so many excuses for why I should eat pizza, guys.
Pizza's good.
Holy shit. Pizza's great. Pizza's so great, and don't I know it. But, like, in the second episode, I'm talking about, like, yo, all right, so I'm figuring out my diet by, like, all right, if I eat this Hungry Man now, it will be better than if I go to, like, I'm still throwing thousands of calories into my gullet every day. And be like, oh no, but I fell into more pizza. But like, if I only have this DiGiorno, then I'll do that. Like the amount of pizza related shit that I kind of just threw out there, like, oh yeah, I can do this and still lose weight, is nonsense. And so what I didn't realize was like how much food, particularly junk food, ruled my life. And I came to light in that by reading the book that I actually read called In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts by Gabor Mate, which really just digs into addiction and like how it happens and why it happens. And I realized that it was more emotional than it was, any sort of need that I really had. And through therapy and through my meditation, like it helped my no S diet a lot. Also, my uncle and my mentor calling me fat. That was truly a turning point throughout these weeks, where I was just like, oh, I need to take this seriously, because those are two people that, not that I don't respect you guys, but I talk to you guys all the time. Almost every week. But to go to these people who I haven't seen in a while that know me at a certain point and then see me now where it's just like, oh, wow, okay, it's like this now. It really kind of shook my system. And since then, I've been consistent. I've lost about 25 pounds. And that's I awesome. Plan to continue this well into the future because I have so many photographs and videos of me at that time, and I don't like them. So... I don't want to be at that way anymore. I feel better now emotionally and physically than I have in quite some time. Steve, you gave me this challenge. What do you think overall?
overall, I'm really glad that you learned from it that it wasn't necessarily like a walk in the park. That because I think that's kind of where people grow most, when they fail and they have to reflect and change things up. And honestly, I partly did it out of a selfish reason, because I was curious about doing it myself at one point.
Oh.
Yeah, and because
Exclusive.
the guy who made the No S diet, I heard about it back in college when I actually did this other crazy weird I guess fitness lifestyle thing that he proposed and had to write up on, called the shovel gloving, which is
Oh my God, I remember that phase of your life, Steve.
yeah.
What is
okay.
shovel
Oh my
gloving?
So the same guy
Oh
who made
my
the No S
God.
diet made shovel gloving, which is you buy a sledgehammer, and for 14 minutes a day you do very practical repetitive motions. And because he was very like anti push-ups and sit-ups.
Nothing's practical with a
because
sledgehammer. Number one.
Yeah, step
Whoa,
one, get a
whoa, whoa.
sledgehammer. I like where this is going.
Yeah. Well, his logic was that push-ups and sit-ups were very unnatural positions. Like, how often do you really like get on your arms and then just start lifting? Like, it doesn't make sense. So his logic was, you get a sledgehammer, and then for safety, you wrap like a sweater around it in case you don't actually want to break anything with a sledgehammer.
Sure.
But you swing it and you do various physical, you replicate physical motions like chopping down a door and then
That's more common than going on the ground and pushing yourself up.
There's chopping a tree. There's breaking down a door.
Yeah.
think
What's the difference between chopping down a tree and breaking down a door? And
Well,
how many
some
times have you done
doors are
that
made of
relative to
trees.
picking
It's-
yourself off the ground?
It's all in the hips, and I did that for a few weeks, and I liked the 14 minutes aspect of it. There was a lot of things I liked about it. What I didn't like is I'm pretty sure I was actually messing my body up because I wasn't. I mean, there's no proper way of being monitored by this. This is like some guy's internet idea, and yeah, it seems cool in concept, and I
Perhaps.
yeah, perhaps it would have been
conceptually,
good. So I thought
perhaps.
maybe, that's the best way to put it. Conceptually, perhaps it was good. So in that light, I thought the No S diet would be this kind of similar, and so I'm glad to see that it works. And because I mean, I'm not necessarily trying to lose weight, but I would like to cut back on sugars. And
So Frank was your guinea pig.
That seems like something I would want to implement at some point.
Yeah, it's not bad. And on top of No S diet, so I actually low key started a secondary diet through it. I keep the no snacks, no sweets, no seconds on top of it, but I've also made that the food that I eat to be ketogenic, which means it's basically low carbs. The easiest way to put it is like the lower carbohydrates. You retain less water. You have more energy, and it's been really good too. So No S in combination with keto has been fantastic, and boy, I can't wait for it to go to the beach, guys. But yeah, those were all of my challenges for the era. And good night to those challenges to the future.
Good night and good luck. Well, can we get some violins sending those challenges off for Frank?
Ooh, send away
You
violence.
know what I'm saying? All right, let's keep this going. Hey, yo, Smacks.
Hey,
What's up?
well, I have gotten 3 challenges from you fine gentlemen. The first one I got was from Josh to see a therapist. Frank challenged me to write the first 60 pages of my great American novel. And Steve challenged me to get 3 people subscribed to the Best Lives model. So, overall, I really am happy with, number one, that I got these specific challenges. I think these are all kind of things that I've been trying to implement in my life with varying degrees of success. So just having a weekly time where I have to talk about all the progress I've made with this was definitely hugely influential in making sure like I actually got through with it and made progress on a weekly basis. So let's break down each of those. Let's talk about going to therapy. So for the first time in my life, I met with a mental health professional. And I mean, it was
Hip hop horns. Hip hop horns. Hip hop horns.
it was an amazing experience. And I certainly didn't know what the role of therapy could be in my life before that. And then afterwards, it made a ton of sense why it's a good idea to go talk to somebody about, whatever's going on in your life.
Yo, hearing the first few episodes of your bitch ass talking about whack excuses like, yeah, well, I need to maintain.
I just haven't found the time.
I
I know I have 5 appointments to book, and I just didn't email and
Yeah,
I didn't call anyone. I didn't.
Yeah.
I have a list of names.
Yeah.
there's 13 weeks of that.
Yep. 13 weeks of knowing
But
what
the
to
growth was the most strongest.
Yeah. So and certainly like going through your insurer to find a mental health professional isn't like a super quick process, but it certainly isn't a 13-week process at the same time. I hope I didn't scare anyone away from going through insurance to find a mental health professional, because I certainly also had a bunch of things in my way personally that stopped me from doing that myself. But yeah, Josh, what made you want to challenge me?
Well, I mean, as I said, I've always considered you as to be one of the smartest men I know. But I've been aware. There's been certain times or episodes in your life where I'm like, well, Max, you should be vulnerable to that, or you can't logic yourself out of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, low key, it was really for me to see if you were a cyborg.
You gotta check. You don't know these days.
Because I was like, somebody. It's not anyone could be that computational.
Maybe that's why Max didn't like water.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Max was not a fan of water. Slowly Max is becoming human.
And then all of a sudden he's done commercial. He did the first few commercials for water. So like Max's that arc in our friendship is massive.
Yeah, Max has come a long way, y'all. Anyway, so I basically was just like, I feel like, as an actor, me personally, I've learned how to really enjoy and embrace vulnerability, and it was a side that I saw that your logic was trumping your vulnerability. So I figured therapy might be just a good place to kind of test those waters. So I'm really happy that you've come a long way.
Yeah.
A long way.
Appreciate it, man. My next challenge was from Steve to get 3 people subscribed to the Best Lives model. An idea I've been cooking
Which is
up
what, Max?
for years now. Just to get people to really think about how they use the internet, specifically social media, and make it work for them. Like, make sure they have specific goals related to how they use the internet, and they're making sure that they're only using the internet to like advance their real life in the real world, as opposed to just engaging with people on the internet. Through this challenge, I learned a lot about why people are actually hungry for that. I thought through the course of this process, I've learned ultimately what I'm trying to get people to do is get off the internet. And that's not a popular idea on the internet. So, but with talking to people, I find out everyone I talk to wants to be on the internet less than they are, with very few exceptions. Yeah. And it basically, if you have a number of social media accounts, you probably think to yourself every once in a while, or you find yourself like, I hate it. This happens to me literally every day, where I open my phone for one specific purpose, and then I get sidetracked onto either Twitter or Instagram, and I have no idea why I unlocked my phone in the first place. So it's things like that that I'm trying to get rid of from people. And first thing I learned is that everyone has those pain points. That is not a rare occurrence at all in people of our generation, of our age. So it's more about what I set out to do was to get feedback from them to figure out like, how could I make approachable tools that make people think about how they use the internet. So I got a lot of feedback on a bunch of different really cool things. I did some of that stuff with Y'all Boys Talkin', where we filled out like a golden circle, which is one thing you can use to like focus your ideas and figure out if how you're using the internet has anything to do with what you actually want to do in the real world. And having people pretty much have a mission statement for themselves and find out what words they want to describe themselves. That is one of the most tangible ways I get people to understand, like, hey, most of the time you're spending on the internet has nothing to do with what you want in the real world. And you need to understand that being on the internet less, or spending the internet only to do the things you expressly want to happen in the real world, is the best thing you can do to make sure you are getting things done. And
Wow.
Like there's no such thing as like nebulous time.
no nebulous time. If the internet has you, if you don't know what you're doing on the internet, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you are someone's
Wow.
engagement statistics at that point. An engineer has made sure that this is going to happen for, you know, an infinite length of time, and you're just giving someone a bunch of ad money. So, Steve, why did you challenge me to do that?
Well, for as long as I've known Max, he's always kind of been not a wacky idea kind of guy. More like he has ambitious ideas that can be kind of wacky, like opening up a VR arcade when
Oh,
VR was
yeah.
like the hot thing, or wanting to be a professional teacher, but like an Instagram thought on the side.
I can't believe these are all real things. Yeah.
Yeah, but and Best Lives was probably the least wacky of those, but it seemed like another ambitious idea that I wanted to see like more realized, and in the same way on one of the challenges he gave me, which I'll touch on my turn, but I wanted to see more execution and just to see things actually done, and I really like the goal behind it, because the internet and people's relationship with technology is becoming more and more blurred, and people are becoming less aware of just how much consumption they're doing at the expense of things like privacy and their free time, and really just their own autonomy. And so just being more intentful of how people use social media, the internet in general, I think is really important, and it's great that it's being addressed with would be like people that are influential, or even just anyone really looking to have their best life
in the real world
addressed on the internet. And I think it's a good idea, and it's definitely a conversation worth talking about.
Absolutely. My last challenge came from Frank Hernandez. Frank wanted me to write the first 60 pages of my great American novel, and very gracious to have received that challenge. Certainly, I love the fact that I come out with the largest Google Doc I ever manufactured. So it is sitting pretty at 62 pages of something, which is again, it's probably the first 2 chapters maybe or 3 now. Of what I think is a great narrative of someone who's just a hero, coming to terms with these great things that he wants to do, and then going out there, learning how awesome he is, gaining all the skills he needs to gain, and then saving the day. So I definitely wanted to write something like that, but also in 2019, right? So just putting that on paper, working around with characters, keeping a narrative in my head, all these things that I never had done for this length of time before, I can now look at myself and be like, hey, I did that, and I'm capable of continuing to do this and to keep going. What I learned a lot about it is that I thought there was going to be a day where I woke up and I was like, I'm a writer, right? But I can tell you, as someone who is, written consistently for 22 weeks, I still don't wake up and be like, writing time, right? It's a chore.
Writing time.
It's a chore.
Mighty Morphin Writing Ranger.
It's a chore every single time. And just acknowledging that and getting comfortable with the idea that it's something I have to make myself do. It's not something I'm ever going to accidentally slip into. I'm never going to come to and just be behind a Google Doc, right?
Whoa.
Right. So understanding that's what it is for me to be a writer is it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like I wake up and have the title hovering over my head or anything like that. It's just something I have to consistently work at. It's kind of similar to working out, right? Maybe one day you wake up and I'm a bodybuilder, right? But it takes a lot of time, energy, effort, and consistency way before that to get to that point. So I'm happy that I'm learning that about myself and seeing what it takes to make me consistently get to writing. So Frank, how do you think I did?
Well, Max, I challenged you because I always liked your writing. I've always thought you were a very funny dude, who has a way with words. I'm a little bummed that your blog didn't make it as far as as every week, but I've made peace with that portion.
Yeah.
Because I read about 40 pages of your 60.
Shut the fuck up.
I sat my ass down and I fucking went in.
Oh God.
And let me tell you something.
What's up?
I love these characters. The fact that, well, first off, because there's not outside of Diaz. There's not a lot of prominent Latino writers talking about nerd shit that I know about.
True.
So the fact that like these are a bunch of Latino nerds,
Yes.
you know, trying to figure this shit out.
Absolutely.
You know, going to Aventura Mall, using places that, of course, I am also very familiar with in Miami.
Starts off in Miami. Yes.
Yeah.
So
like all these like elements about it that I really thoroughly enjoyed. It could use some editing. Definitely.
You mean it wasn't perfect the first time?
The parts could be trimmed here and there.
Yeah.
But
okay,
the soul behind it, the ideas behind it, the feel of it, is something that I really, really enjoyed, and I'm happy that you fucking sat your ass down and did it, even if it didn't come naturally to you.
Yeah.
I gave you the challenge because a long time ago you said you wanted to write this novel. You wanted to write. It was a completely different idea. You wanted to write this novel, and I'm like, oh, I'd like to read that, and it never came to nowhere. So having this opportunity to like actually like kick you in the butt and like, hey, let's do this.
Yeah.
In the tushy.
Right in the tushy. And seeing the results, like, I'm super stoked, and I'm really happy with how you did it. Fucking, you killed it, man. I will finish the last 20 pages.
Thank you.
But I am really enjoying what I'm reading so far.
Awesome.
Man, well, Max, I gotta tell you, it's been a long journey, but it sounds like it was worth it. Steve, what you got?
I had 3 challenges for the past almost, how long was it? Like 4 months?
2 weeks?
Exact
Over
amount of
4?
months,
I mean, it's something like
Let's
that.
go with 22, 23
yeah.
weeks.
Just about 4 months.
Yeah, 23 weeks. 23 weeks in me. My first challenge was from Josh, which was to journal every day. Max challenged me to wait less, and Frank had challenged me to publicly release a 5-song EP. With the first challenge, which was, I think, might have been the hardest one for me, which was strange because it's something I had done before, which was journaling. But in my past journaling, which I think I started somewhere around college, it was extremely sparse.
Right.
I think it would happen in troubled times, and I would just kind of use it to get my thoughts together, but I would rarely, if ever, use it to capture happy moments or even boring moments. It was just kind of moments of intensity where I just needed to sort some things out, or just have some type of vent.
Right.
But it took me a while to kind of see the practicality of it, the actual benefits of journaling every day, even on days where I could just admit and have it on paper and say I didn't prioritize or commit to journaling today. Seeing that enough times, it's just like, oh, hey, I am, not prioritizing things like this. This is a actual transactional. It's a record of me not prioritizing, and then
it's a cryptocurrency log,
immutable record.
It's a
ledger.
It's a log. Yeah, and it's nice seeing that in contrast to the times where I would journal consistently, and it would just be pages and pages and pages of actual notes and just descriptions of days.
You saw your investment multiply.
Yep. No, I mean, it had its ups and downs. It's as any
right.
Yeah, as any
stock
proper
market of
investment.
thoughts.
Yeah, there were risks. So, Josh, you saw me on my days where I would complain, and also where I would, I guess, not complain. How would you say I did?
I think you did. I think you did trash. Like you. Okay, no. I think it was an interesting look at human behavior, because I do think you could have pushed yourself more.
Agreed.
You ultimately did, we crossed the finish line, and I really think you found your stride when I was like, bro, just get in there and say I'm not writing. Like, just get in there. You really picked it up, kind of buzzer beatered it towards the end, but I kind of used you as a study on, when it's like the simplest thing, what we tell ourselves that prevent us from it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Not a judgment on it, but I was just fascinated as to like, something as simple as just writing it down, what we as a people, do to kind of get out of the simplest things that we need to get done. I actually learned from you going through that, like for myself. A couple of things that I've had to do, people ask me for things or whatever, and it's so simple. I'm like, what? Why am I not prioritizing the simple thing? Why am I not? And it really, it kept me answering that question. And I think that keeping a consistent accountability of like, hey, I'm not prioritizing a simple thing, which is what I think you started doing towards the end with the short and sweet logs. Then, the behavior shifted the most when you were honest with yourself. And I thought that it was really a wholesome lesson for myself, yourself, and the listeners.
Well, you're welcome for learning because of me. But I did learn a lot, and I can look back on it and say, hey, I did that. I mean, I actually was looking back on it a few days ago and just seeing
literally can.
the ups and downs of how I would feel at certain times, and it's a very, very easy way to learn about yourself, and I highly recommend it to anyone.
Facts. What you got next?
My next challenge was for Max, which was to wait less. And it was one of the more abstract challenges because there was no real, I guess, finishing or fixed amount of waiting or not waiting I could have done. But overall, I think I did find myself trying to do more bigger ideas and not dwell too much on the details and really hold myself back and say, yeah, I'm thinking about doing this, and then just thinking about it, and then months pass, and then I just kind of move on and go on to something else. But I also, looking back on it, found myself not really having many things that were, I guess, not worth waiting for, but it was I had so many other things going on that I was just doing them, and there wasn't anything new or upcoming that I wanted to do that I was kind of holding back. So in some ways I feel like I maybe was a bit uneventful in this challenge
right,
only because they're just I was doing what I wanted to do.
It's a good way to live life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah, I would agree. Similar to Frank's challenge, I think the less you have to worry about this challenge, the better you're doing at it, right? Which the goal was just to get you to think more about like when could you strategically use patience as to when is patience like harming something, right? So when you say there's not a lot of things that you're waiting on, that just to me says that you were thinking about like when is waiting a good thing, and making sure that when it made sense, and then it wasn't hurting or harming anything. So that to me just tells me that you really took it to heart or just implemented some changes to make sure that you weren't waiting on things unnecessarily. So hats off to you, man. I think that just means like you were thinking about it, and it didn't show up a lot because you were,
right,
I think, being proactive.
Bars.
My last challenge was from Frank, which was to release the 5-song EP. And at first, honestly, I thought it was going to be a breeze because I was just like, I've used Fruity Loops before, and I've never really released anything, but I know what music sounds like.
I've heard it before.
Yeah, and I could just put something together. This is going to be a cakewalk. And man, there were so many weeks of me not doing anything or me switching it up, going from one program to the other, to the other, to the other, which maybe ironically was a form of waiting. But I think for me, it was just, I consider myself a very creative person, and I'm also very particular with my tools. And in this instance, I mean, maybe it's an excuse or something, but I think the amount of care or the amount of pickiness I had with the tools I was looking for actually showed that I really cared about what I was trying to make, because I really wanted to enjoy the full process, like beginning to end. And I'm happy I stumbled onto Ableton, because that literally had every criteria I had for making music. It had to be I guess, intuitive program. It had to have these shortcuts. It just, things had to make sense, but also it had to be very flexible, using either my own set of instruments or whatever it had provided. It literally had everything, and I had so much fun making the 5 songs that I am, considering getting piano lessons, buying a piano, and actually learning these kind of melodies, and just learning about music. And yeah, I want to make a lot more music in the future. Specifically, there's one album that really inspired me lately. It's one album of songs that range between 30 to 60 seconds, and all of them are very distinct sounds. And I think that would be a fun project to work on at some point. It would be the title of the effect of Slapperoonies, Volume 1.
Yo, strong supporter of Slapperoonies.
Yeah, so I definitely want to make some slappers, and I would want them to be some oonies, so Slapperoonies. Sounds like a fun thing to do in the future. Frank, what'd you think of the album?
So I love the album. I think the album's great. Like, especially like how you eventually got to it. Though I must say, for overall the entire thing, I was nervous most weeks. Weeks. Oh man, the amount of times you'd be like, yeah, I'm on this program, but yeah, I'm not feeling these tools. All right, so I got these presets, right? And then this one's over here. Because I was wholly unprepared for like the journey that this took. Because I listened to the first episodes, and I remember like when I first gave you the challenge, because before we started the podcast, you had made a couple of slapperoonies that I was just like, oh shit, this is dope. That's the reason I upped it from 2. It was 2 songs at the beginning. It was 2 songs, and then I said like, nah, you got this, 5. And I thought you were gonna knock this out like 4 or 5 weeks or something.
Nope.
Man, when you told me like that one week, you were like, hey, I have these Timbaland masterclass things. I was like, all right,
like,
cool.
Oh, okay.
Next
Yeah,
was just
picking
like,
up.
Do you still have those, Steve?
What's up?
Do you still have those classes?
Yeah, I never went past lesson 1, but I can if now that I want to.
Okay.
Now that you want to.
Yeah, that
when you
one
get the
week you're like,
challenges.
oh, I did these classes. I'm like, all right. So like, okay, cool. If you learn about it, then that works as progress. Then next week is you're like, nah, I didn't. I just stopped. Fuck. So this was the second most frustrated I was with a challenge. I'll get to the other one. But the reason I challenged you to this specifically is I challenged you to do music, and I challenged Max to do writing, because I know all 4 of you as very creative people. Josh, I never have to ask if he's doing something creative, because he always is. Like, we're both very in sync, and just like we're always like trying to make stuff out there. Steve and Max, as the tech boys, you guys are both very creative, but a lot of your jobs involve a lot of really strict kind of
boring.
It's not
Yeah.
boring. I work in a technical thing too, and it could be fun as well. But it's very strict. It's very specific. Where working on creative projects could literally let you do anything.
Right.
And I just kind of wanted to see more like dope output from you guys, because I know you guys have it in you. So that's what I wanted to push out of you guys, and I'm stoked that I did it, and you guys fucking accomplished it. Steve, at the last at the last minute, Game 6, Ray Allen.
Buzzer
but
beater.
You did it.
I had a
And-
double game 6.
and
Double
that's the
game
important part.
6.
So, good on you, bro.
Yeah.
All right. Well, looks like that was y'all boys.
Oh,
Just
man.
kidding.
One more boy. What's up, Josh?
So my
talk.
challenges were to keep a consistent workout schedule given to me by Frank, make some music given to me by Max, and to keep a budget for apparently 2 months given to me by Steve. So overall thoughts about my workout schedule. I'm not gonna lie, it was a nightmare to some degree. I just felt the amount of guilt I felt every week was nerve-wracking. But you know what? Every time I bitched and complained, but I actually went, I always felt good about myself. So I think that happened enough where moving forward, like if I'm ever in a slump or if I ever, know that I don't feel like doing it, I literally can be like, bro, well, you are going to feel a lot better about this. And now before I was a little more resistant about believing that, but now I feel like that world has opened up. I'm excited to continue my workout journey. I'm doing a lot of habit and mental health things to figure out what can work best for me. It's more sustainable. So, Frank, let me know how I did with that.
So I said Steve's thing was the second most frustrated I was with the challenge. This was number one. This is number one.
Yeah, that's what I set out to do, man. Be number one.
Be
Set
number
Frank
one.
and
Hey man,
Steve's.
you're number
STTB.
one. But the reason I became so frustrated, and obviously that came out a couple episodes ago.
Oh yeah, there's no Real Housewives beef on Double Talking. So.
Yeah.
That's what I love here.
But the Steve one, I was frustrated because I was just like, oh yeah, he's gonna knock this out so quickly there, and because you were surrounded by like all these other very STT people, all three of your roommates are very STT, all in shape, who I know are willing to help you out, if you need it. I'm like, okay, you got this whole support system there. Like he's gonna knock this out so great. He might have some weeks off here or there. But when it kept coming back, I was just like, oh boy, man. So it ended up just the Frank reminder system.
That worked, man.
Tried and true, patented.
Patented. Frank reminds you that, and he uses emojis.
Yeah.
They're color coordinated.
I get creative.
Oh wow.
Oh, I didn't know all that.
It's pretty intense
Because
he sends you question marks and eyes, voice notes. He switches it up.
Wow.
A lot of variety.
My boy needed help, and you're having a tough time, but you did it. And even on those last few weeks where like I needed you to fucking like finish, but there were still a number of weeks where you just did it on your own. And the fact that you started doing, what was it, Tai Chi?
Yes.
Like the fact that you went out of your way to do that with another very motivated person that we know. Shout out to Ethan, who's wonderful. That you looked out and you still made it work. It wasn't as clean cut as probably I would have liked it.
Yeah, I landed that plane in the Galapagos Islands.
But I think
it
that's,
landed.
But I think that's just our dynamic. The Frank and Josh dynamic is that we're both the same person, but we do things completely opposite.
Hey man, we're on opposite sides of the astrological wheel.
Correct. Scorpios and Tauruses, like we just get the shit done. We get shit done. We just get shit done different ways. And sometimes that could be frustrating to one another, and that definitely came out.
There's a series of Taurus and Scorpio memes I'm gonna send you. That's like a thing, like Taurus and Scorpio memes. It's like a thing.
And yeah.
Anyway,
but I'm glad that you got a little more working out in your life, regardless.
Yes,
because
absolutely. This is the most workouts I've done consistently in my entire life.
And I'm glad that you're doing it now, because I know, in the times that I worked out, and like nowadays, it doesn't just help you physically, because physically it's one thing. I said like, abs and shit like that. Like that's all great. But what it really does is help you mentally as well. It's the dedication to like get out and do something for your body. It literally helps you think better. It helps you become more creative, and it gives you more ideas for the future and the energy to do them. Because not only are you highly motivated, highly creative, but if you were also in shape, you'd be unstoppable.
Damn.
So
bars.
keep it up, bro.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. So my next challenge was to keep a budget. This was the most agonizing one, but not really. Because
What was more agonizing than
Wait,
that?
wait. Hold
Tell us
on.
what was more agonizing if that wasn't
Yeah.
really it. Yeah.
I guess when
I was
refer-
agonized.
When I refers to agonizing, I mean like the narratives I was telling myself, the
Okay.
self-talk that I was having,
Okay.
the emotional terrorism I was imposing
God.
on myself. But then again, I really came out the dust of being like, it might have seemed like it wasn't. No, it was hard. I mean, all right, never mind. It was hard. But what I came out of this is a profound sense of awareness of my funds. Because as I explained before we really got into this, I used to just swipe. I knew I got paid on the 15th. I knew I got paid. Like it was like whatever. I would just barrel roll into my funds until I got an overdraft fee.
Oof.
And that's when I was like, oh shit, I gotta look at my account. So I since the apex of this challenge, I have been more aware of my funds, and that's something that's really important, is to be aware, because I am keeping track of it more now, and the strategies and tools that I learned have helped me out. I realize I low key have been saving a lot of money actually because of this app I use called Digit. So while there was a lot of like ups and downs, I actually have money saved up to reimburse myself for a lot of the reckless spending that has happened over the weeks.
It's great.
Which is good. And the overall tools and strategies that I learned from you guys have really helped me out. Did I execute a perfect budget? Absolutely not. Did I accept a couple of realities about myself, some habits about myself, and created a strategy around that to give some semblance of consistency? That is what has come out of this. So, Steve, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Towards the end, because initially I think we were all having a lot of rough patches with our challenges, coming up with excuses or just not really taking it as seriously. But even towards the end, there were times where I was getting frustrated and thinking that you just weren't taking the finances or just the challenge itself quite seriously at all. But looking back at the whole thing and really remembering every time you or in the way you spoke of how much you did or didn't spend, or what you were really, I guess, feeling that week with your finances, I could really tell that you were slowly but surely becoming more aware of your actions.
Right.
It didn't have to be budgeted every dollar, every cent, as I would have liked, but I ultimately just wanted you to be more aware that
Facts.
you were spending or not spending in certain things, and also to address things like debt and things that could incur more damage than good.
Right.
And with all that being said, and I almost forgot that you even opened up a Roth IRA account, which is an awesome kind of investment tool to have for yourself in the future.
Right.
That a lot of people don't even realize the benefits of having, and you did that really early on. How much you're putting into that is up to you, but
right. Do a 20 here, 50 there.
Yeah, no,
That's good. Just compound interest, bro.
Yeah, exactly. You're investing more in yourself, and also, more importantly, towards the end, you identified your behaviors and got real with yourself and found a strategy that balances a realistic way of budgeting and understanding your money and how you interact with it. Because I remember one of your biggest problems was overspending in social situations.
Oh yeah.
Which it's tempting for a lot of people, but
which actually has gone down.
Yeah.
I've not done that in quite a while actually.
Yeah, and I think
it's
one of my
mostly
favorite
just Uber Eats.
Huh?
It's mostly just Uber Eats.
Fucking Uber Eats, man.
Yeah, this podcast is still pretty anti
Uber
Eats.
Eats. Yeah,
Yeah.
doesn't
Not
stop.
that we don't like it. We're just mad that we like it so much.
There you go.
Right.
23 weeks
but-
of fuck you, Uber Eats.
I don't
How
like
dare
that
you be so
company.
easy.
But probably one of my favorite takeaways from the whole podcast that anyone has said was, you don't need 2 bags of Doritos to be excited that Josh is at a party or whatever.
Yeah.
Because Josh is the party.
Josh is the party.
Yeah. Josh, out of anyone I know, is like you can put him in a room with a dingbat and I don't know.
A self-contained. He is the self-contained hootenanny.
Squeegee
There you go.
board. That
There
is
you
a
go.
hootenanny
He is the
right there.
hootenanny, and
A hoot and a half.
I think that is invaluable. So just don't forget that, Josh, that people don't need your money or your material things. They just want to be with you.
Damn. Thanks, Doc. Big bars, big facts. And last but not least, my challenge was from Max was to make more music. I was really, really excited to make music at the top of the year, and I will say it did dwindle at a certain point, but because Max, you kind of put me in the situation, it really made me reconnect with my musical side. I dropped a couple songs. I recorded some freestyles. I had a phase with a sampler for a while, which was crazy. So you really put me into this like really old corner of my creative self that I haven't visited in a while. Now, the reality of the situation is like I'm not the type of person that likes to half-ass. So like I've come to realize that if I really want to do music, I have to like really do it. I can't do all of my creative projects at once. If I find a chance to intersect them, I will. But, you know, it made me realize, yeah, I want to put more dedication into this. And when I do, I'm going to go full force. And the fact that I was in the space to create frameworks and just ideas for songs and get into that headspace, I'm really excited that I have already a to-do list when I really fully engage with that. So how do you think I do?
I love the progress you made on this challenge. Number one, I think you knocked this one out of the park more than any of your other challenges, which I appreciated. And more so than anything, I wanted to see you have fun with music. And that meant kind of, you know, doing some things you maybe haven't done before musically. So I did add that little kicker with the banjo. Suffice to say, Josh made the Rosebud Thorn theme song for this podcast, which was like number one, adding to the podcast. Number two, checking one of his, you know,
Bonafide
goals off the
slapperoni
list,
on
which
top
is
of it.
great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. But again, I just wanted to see you enjoy music. So when I saw you get like the sampler and bust out things like that, when I saw you having like freestyle sessions with your roommates and just having these impromptu things where you just created music and brought other people and got them involved, that was what like set my heart on fire when it came to you like fulfilling this challenge. So when I saw that happening, that's when I know like, oh, awesome. Like this is what I wanted to see. And just you, as a creative, I know this is what you do, but at the same time, I wanted you to, again, just think of things in like a slightly different perspective. So it wasn't just about creating, it was about challenging you to create like differently, create new stuff, and perhaps like just paint you into a little corner creatively and see what comes out from there. So
Well, the spores of that plant have blossomed.
yes. So I think you did a great job with it, and I was very happy to see you having fun making music.
Yo, this ain't the first, this ain't the last time. You know what I'm saying? There's gonna be a Y'all Boys Talking mixtape coming out soon. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that first episode we were talking. It was we. There's a lot of challenges that we kind of threw out.
Oh yeah, we'd like to acknowledge that we did
Yeah.
a lot of there was a lot of we
lot
did
of
not
talking shit.
expect this podcast to be as consuming as it was, so we oversold ourselves and ultimately
Way
whittled
oversold.
down to the realities. So
yeah.
for the people that have been with us,
But
from day
let's say the
one,
continuity starts at episode 3.
pretty much
1 and 2 is just like, hey man, you know, we out here, dog.
testing the waters.
Yeah.
But on that note, speaking of testing the waters, that is our challenge checkup reflection moment.
Just the last time these challenges will be heard on this podcast.
Yes, until
Yeah.
the next saga.
Until the next saga, we have brand new challenges. So.
We're going to take a quick old break. We'll be right back to kind of wrap this whole thing up and before we go on vacation. Don't go anywhere. Be right back. Y'all Boys Talkin' is brought to you by women. Producing men and women since forever. And we are back. For our final segment, we have the last rosebud thorn of this saga. Cue sound.
Oh, I got my rose, I got my bud, I got my thorn. Here is the rose and the thorn and the bud of the week. I got my rose and my thorn and my bud.
Rosebud thorn is an opportunity for us to give flowers to our week, a moment to take a reprieve from all the hustle and the stepping to the top, to give grace to awesome things or little annoying things that have happened this week. But because it's the last show, we're going to do our Rosebud Thorn for the whole saga. And one thing that helped us out the most. So why don't you start us off, Steve?
So my biggest thorn this entire saga was probably my skin. It's not necessarily something I have full control over, just an unfortunate circumstance I have with genetics, and a bit of, I guess, negligence on skincare and not addressing things sooner. But yeah, I've struggled with my skin for years, where acne could be painful because I've had it on my chest and my back, but it's gotten worse to where I've had eczema developing, and it got to its critical point in one of my visits in Utah, where I went to hot springs, and yeah, the backs of my hands literally were like cracking and bleeding.
Oof.
And I had to go to a dermatologist like that week and get like this like steroid shot that helped a lot because I was like itchy and it was awful. But you know, it's one thing that I have to learn how to treat it better.
Right.
And luckily I have Celeste for that, as she's all about the skincare game.
Oh, snap. Support from the skin.
Yeah, for my rose, because initially I was just going to say the trip to Nicaragua, but really, you know, my rose has been Celeste. And she's been very supportive throughout this whole process. We have a, you know, very exciting, you know, future ahead of us with everything that's, I guess, going on with our relationship. And yeah, she's the best partner I could have asked for. And so
Steve.
yeah, so Celeste, when you hear this, I mean, you already know because I tell you every day and every morning, but I love you. And
FYI, they are big fans of you too, just for the record.
Yeah, and we appreciate that a lot, really. So my bud is in learning about a lot about myself in these past couple months, and really seeing the journeys of you guys, where the benefits of counseling and therapy have, you know, been talked about, and addressing mental health. I am actually scheduled for an appointment that's for tomorrow to have an intake appointment with a therapist. I've done it before in college, and I stuck around with it for maybe 2 years. It was greatly beneficial, and I realized I have a lot of things going on, you know, a lot of good, some more challenging things that I would want to have addressed with a professional. And yeah, I'm inspired by both, I mean, really all of you guys, because you've all have taken therapy as well. And for anyone, you know, in me and Max's situations where we have to consider insurance and networks and stuff, admittedly, it was a bit kind of like harrowing, or you have to search through a list of providers and stuff. But in my case, I have solid insurance and probably more flexible criteria. So I only started my search around maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I got pretty quick responses. So I think maybe also because I was much more comfortable with the idea and I had like a much stronger need, I was pretty quick to do it. So I'm really excited to go in tomorrow and revisit this chapter of my self-care that I haven't done in maybe like 5-6 years since graduating college.
So Steve, what you're saying is that there's not going to be any 13-week Steve.
No, this is 3-week Steve at most, and even then it's just because I was waiting because I had a holiday and I forgot to reply.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
All right.
And as I think one thing we all should probably address as our final rosebud thorn for this saga is maybe not any part of a flower, but just a piece of parting advice and what we've learned and what's been most helpful for us in this 23-week journey of self-improvement and accountability. And mine would be the bullet journal I kept, which happened to coincide with the challenge Josh had given me of journaling. But the bullet journal was my way of logging my goals and desires into like everyday tasks, but also trying to step away from an overly digital world. The tactile feel of writing on paper is, for me, been much more effective in meeting my everyday goals, whether it's making my bed or remembering to do something like get groceries or follow a recipe. And of course writing and because with as much as I've written, there even beyond like besides things like the length of how much I've written, the actual way I wrote it says a lot. There's some parts where it's like unrecognizable and other parts where you can see like I took my time and I was probably at a better place. Right. So just at a cursory glance, that says a lot.
Right. Damn.
So I highly recommend journaling in general, but just Google bullet journal. I'll put a link in the description of the one I have, just because it's dotted paper and it's really nice and also really cheap. So go get a bullet journal if you're interested in journaling.
Wow, that's great, Steve. All right, Max, what you got for us?
I got a rose, I got a bud, I got a thorn, and I got a special thing for you at the end.
Ew. Ew.
Hey, that wasn't sexual until you.
I know what you mean, but it just came off weird. But either way, what's up? What you got?
All right. My biggest thorn of the past 22 weeks was this one particular moment where I had just finished doing meal prep, and I dropped all of my meal prep food while I was moving it into the fridge. And that moment scarred me for about 3 or 4 weeks, where I did not do any cooking after that. And I don't know. I look back on that and I'm like, why did I let myself be so affected by that one incident? It's traumatizing. It was like I dropped like 6 meals. I've never dropped that many meals before in my life. So it just discouraged me from ever even trying to make another meal for, again, almost a month. But also like was a wake-up call for me. It was like there was no actual reason why I decided to stop cooking, even if I dropped the food. Like I probably should have cooked again right after that to make up for all the meals I lost, not just waste a bunch of money eating out for almost a month after that.
That's a pretty lame excuse.
That's a kind of like important thing about when you really think with therapy and what really thinking about things kind of gets you, is that you realize that sometimes it's more than the meals.
Yeah, and certainly I made the problem worse myself by like milking that moment, that one incident. I milked that for a month. I certainly didn't have to, but I did. So
yeah, you could have just bought milk.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah.
What else you got?
I got a rose. My rose was making a lot of commercials. So throughout the podcast, listening to the first few reminded me how much fun I was having. Not just audio editing, but like inviting people over, having friends come over and do voiceovers for a lot of these commercials, and just meeting together with Frank and with Josh and writing commercials and just everything involved with creating a lot of the commercials here. It's a lot of fun. So I really appreciated having that kind of creative outlet, and definitely want to do more of that in the future. So probably spend even some time in our break just making some funky stuff.
Yeah, I think that's something that could happen. Yeah, for sure.
I'm down with that.
I mean, I wasn't really planning on talking to you guys at all till we got back. But
Yeah.
Radio silence.
Yeah.
Block everyone.
I'll send you guys an invoice first, and then if you guys
never
want
mind.
to pay that, we can
All right.
talk off the pod.
Carry on.
My bud, speaking of off pod, my bud is some off pod challenges. I think this whole idea of challenges has inspired some people to do some other things. So even when we're not like meeting weekly and talking about our progress and stuff, got some challenges I want to get done anyways. So excited to see that play out and see how that motivates my behavior off the podcast too. Is a challenge the best way to get Max to do stuff? Let's find out.
Find out on Max's life.
Yeah, you're gonna have to actually meet me and talk to me and figure that out. This will not be on the podcast.
That's the best way to stream your content. Talk to you.
Yes. The one thing that really helped me out throughout this whole process and making sure I crossed all 3 of those challenges off the list is a calendar. A whiteboard calendar I have right next to my desk, right in my room, and it's the first thing I look at every day. I wake up and I move the little day marker to the current day. And of course, it's got everything I need to do throughout the week. It's got a little sidebar. It shows me the things I need to keep in mind. At the beginning of the year, I actually wrote like some ideals for myself for the whole year.
Oh,
and
wow.
they're still up there. And anytime I feel lost or stuck, or I really don't, or I just feel bored, if I ever have the luxury of that, I look at that list of ideals and I'm like, those are the things I need to be doing right now, not feeling however I'm feeling right now. So just a way to keep me grounded, and also, of course, put actual tangible things that I need to do on a weekly basis. So if there's one thing I want you guys to walk away with, is that organizing your time via a calendar, whether that's on your computer, on paper, on a whiteboard, or on your own hand, that helped me a lot. So I recommend everybody calendar stuff.
Swag.
Yeah, that's what I got.
All right. Wow. Sweet deal, Max. All right, Hank, what you got for us?
Okay, so I got a thorn, rosebud, and just one thing to leave you with. My thorn is, so I've been working on the social media portion of Y'all Boys Talkin'. So all the stuff that you see on IG or Facebook or Twitter and whatnot, that's all my
handcrafted
ish, and a lot of it's been fun. Like I'd say 80% of working on all the social media stuff has been a good time. The 20% is almost entirely the YouTube channel. And kind of figuring out how ads work on Facebook. So the YouTube channel was a late idea. It's probably something we should have done earlier on, but I thought like, oh, because a lot of there's a big user base on YouTube, and to give more international fans, because sometimes things are blocked in either places. I'm like, all right, YouTube would be a good idea. I didn't realize that doing it about 20 weeks in would be such a hassle, but boy was it. Just creating and uploading like 21-hour-long videos was pretty annoying. But I'm glad it's there. I'm glad it's up. I just wish I would have done it earlier. As well as Facebook ads. So we run advertisements for the show. And trying to figure out like right demographics, trying to figure out like audience size, like how much money to put into a campaign, things like that. Like I was just going like crazy at the beginning, and only towards the end did I really figure out a good strategy to kind of work on it. But getting there was also a pain in the ass. So these two are my biggest thorns, and they're all learning experiences. So thankfully, moving on from that. My rose is for this saga was the saga itself, the check-ins, the podcast. Josh brought this up a while back, but this is the most we've spoken to each other consistently since we graduated high school. Like
like spoke. Like we've had our chats and our various forms of online communication, but like in terms of setting a time slot every single week to talk between the 4 of us, this has definitely been the most consistent and maybe most fruitful.
So just being able to talk to you guys every week has been some really great. We've stayed in contact consistently, and we've talked about that previously, where we've always stayed in touch in each other's lives, even though we've all moved to different places. We all went to different colleges and things like that. But the fact that we all still kind of kept in touch, I think, has been great. But specifically doing this podcast and doing the check-ins, I think is only, like, I can speak for myself that I feel has been really beneficial for me and how I felt. Because especially listening to the earlier podcast, I know how I was feeling behind the scenes, and it wasn't great. I had just come out of a breakup, and there was like a couple other things, like just personally, that I was going through that I wasn't feeling too great in, and I basically consider this like second therapy. Like, I always, to all of our listeners, I recommend actual therapy with licensed professionals, which is fantastic. But also just having a good group of friends that you check in every once in a while doesn't hurt whatsoever. So that is by far my biggest rose of this saga. My bud, large part of it is creating the Brokio series that you guys will be watching the trailer. When this comes out, you have seen the trailer yesterday, and it's dope. I'm excited about it, how it came out, and I'm really excited for you guys to see the rest of the series. I've put a lot of work into it, and it's something that's made me feel, I say on my profiles I'm a practicing filmmaker, because like a practicing doctor, like a practicing physician, like a practicing lawyer, I'm a practicing filmmaker. Everything that I do is trying to incrementally get better on the thing I've done previously, and I feel this is the best work that I've done. And
well,
I'm excited for y'all to
don't
check
set
it
the
out.
expectations.
You talking about practice?
Let's talk about practice.
Practice makes perfect.
No, it's gonna be awesome and fucking kick ass. Sorry, I didn't mean to curse.
So that creating, as well as how much weight I've lost, and I plan on continuing on that journey. Like, I've already started on a good. My momentum's already started. I've lost about 25 pounds at this point. I still have like 30 that I want to kind of get rid of. But by the time the new saga begins, I plan to be like a completely different person than I was at the beginning of the first saga. So, okay, mostly the same person, but with less fat.
That makes sense.
I'll be more specific.
Diet Frank.
And finally, the one thing I'd like to leave y'all with to take into your life is the very first commercial that we did for Y'all Boys Talking is for waking up early. And I would like to reiterate that waking up early is the most useful thing that I've done in the past 23 weeks. Because if you wake up like I do at 4:45 in the morning, it is dark outside, no one's bothering you, there's nothing interesting on social media, you don't want to watch an episode of Black Mirror or Terrace House at 4:45 in the morning. It's really just time to get shit done. And for me, it's meditating and then working out. And just getting that out even before the sun comes out just makes my entire day better. And every good habit that I have comes from waking up at that hour. And one of the things that helped me wake up at that hour is, I hate to give Google like props for this, but my Google Home has been really helpful for that.
Yo, shout out to Google Home.
Shout out to Google Home, because I can just tell my my Google Home, like, hey, set an alarm for 4:45 a.m. that plays, Linkin Park music, and at 4:45 a.m. in the morning, Linkin Park starts playing. I say good morning, and then my light turns on, and then news starts playing, and I get myself ready for the day. Like, it's just really good use of technology that I've super dug, and with reminders and everything else like that. So I'd say get a Google Home. I don't want you to purchase things, but if you could find a way to wake up early without buying something, that'd be great.
Just
but if you
walk
can
down
buy
the street,
something,
say, "Hey, slap me
Google
at
Home
6 a.m." to the first person you see. Yeah, that
if
works
you got
too. That's
that
free.
system,
that
works
I
too.
will side note to Frank's note to anyone who has an Android, who's like I think in like more of the more recent release. If you just say, "Hey Google," it's very likely you can get a lot of those same Google Home capabilities. It's worth setting up and trying out if you don't want to buy something and want to use.
Please
a
also
very
research
smartphone.
the implications of having a live microphone in your home at all times.
Yes.
Yeah, there's also the larger ramifications of having a live microphone in your home.
Just use at your discretion.
It's recording. All right. On that note,
Josh, what you got?
For my rose, my thorn, my bud for this series, my thorn was my low moments of negative self-talk. There was a lot of a lot of emotional terrorism I felt like I caused myself over the course of this. It just made me hyper aware of like the story that I tell, because I had to constantly engage with goal setting and being introspective about what I was doing regarding goal setting and STT. It flared up some negative thoughts and doubts about myself, and it was kind of annoying. But the silver lining in that is that it's made me aware that is an issue that can get in the way, and it did get in the way sometimes, but it was still annoying nonetheless. And my self-talk is quite sharp as a scythe. So that was annoying as hell. But on the counter of that, the rose is that despite that, the entire process of this podcast has been honestly life-changing. I think it was a really interesting psychological way for me to wire my love for acting and performing with getting goals done, because I feel like I didn't want to give the audience bad content. So like I would work out extra. I would, it was this weird way of like tying in something I love to something I want. That's something I need to do for myself. So I enjoyed the entire process, even making the commercials as well with the guys, and constantly engaging with the medium of audio sound was something that was really cool. So this whole process has added many different facets and perspectives in my current iteration of life. And I'm really excited because now that it's done, which is my bud, we can take a break. I'm excited to take a break. I'm letting you guys know I won't be talking to you guys for about a month, so okay, gonna take a break from the friendship too.
Okay. Oh, that's not just
friends are over,
no more
guys.
friends. Yeah. That's it. The friends don't exist.
Purely
this is all about the
business
podcast, man.
Wait, are we exiting the friend zone?
Yeah, we're leaving
into the pod zone.
No, I kid. But I am glad to take a break. Not only to, just because, oh my God, it's been so much work, but no, because I want to see how I am without the podcast, and I want to see what the real world effects of that are. And there are, as Max said, some goals that I do want to achieve for myself too. So I'm really excited to kind of try all my sea legs in the wave of STT. And the one thing that I want to, that helped me out is accountability. I realize I talk a lot of caca, talk a lot of shit. I'm a big idealist, and sometimes I'll say yes to things, or I think things are a lot more possible than when they actually are, and I can continue to justify and tell myself stories over and over and over again. But reality slaps you in the face when a friend is accountable with you, and I'm here to say accountability is cool. It demystifies the haziness and unclarity of your own self-narrative. It roots you in reality, and I think that being repeatedly rooted in reality by people that you care about, but mostly just the concept of being rooted in reality is really helpful to really walking the true line that you need to walk in this simulation of ours.
This is a simulation? I knew that.
Oh shit. On
that
I'm being beamed away.
motherfucking note, I have one last thing I want to say. One last rose, a collective rose that I'm speaking on behalf of everybody here. You guys, the listeners, for those of you that have streamed, told a friend, tweeted something, shout out to Sakura. We this was an experiment that we all decided to try out, and for the people that we have actually helped, we appreciate you letting us know. This wasn't meant to be as a big self-celebratory thing, but we hope that with us celebrating ourselves, you can be inspired to celebrate your own successes as well. Thank you, listeners, and we are really excited to create more engaging, insightful, and awesome ways to the collective top. So, with that being said, that is the end of the first saga of Y'all Boys Talkin'. Stay tuned for the next saga on September 4th.
All right, guys, let's take it from the bridge.
All right.
1.
And I praise. Oh, sorry.
Can we start with how do I?
I want to take it. Yeah, I said the bridge. Yeah, I want to take it from the bridge.
That is the bridge. So yeah,
okay.
Max fucked up.
Take it to the bridge.
Yeah.
Can you clue us back in, Max?
All right. And let's take it from the bridge.
How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times that made us laugh outweigh the bad.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for sticking with us. We love you. Stay tuned. Goodbye.
And forever's gone away.
It's
It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday.
And okay, I'm stopping recording.
Yeah. I don't think we should use any of that myself, personally.
I'll throw you out the window, Steve.